Hi everyone, and welcome back to my War Games hobby channel. Me and Graham are having another Muskets and Tomahawks game, and I just thought I'd record this and see how it goes. So here's the table all set up and ready to go. Right, let me explain what this scenario is, so you can understand. You can see the British in the middle there, in a little hamlet. There's some loyalists. It's a loyalist hamlet, and they're there to protect the civilians. And the dastardly Americans are coming on various places to try and set fire to the hamlet. And the British have got to try and get the civilians off the table. So that's the British are playing evacuation, and the Americans are playing raid. So they've got to set fire to the buildings. Now we don't know where yet the British can get their civilians off the table, because until the first red clock card comes up, we don't know where that is. And in fact, when that does come up, Graham, that's the American commander, can place two objectives. They've got to be on different edges, and they've got to be more than 24 inches apart. And then they're the two locations where myself, being the British, have to try and get at least half the civilians off the table. Now, as it happens, I played this game a few days ago with another friend of mine. So we're doing a complete repeat to see whether we get a similar result. That time I was the American commander, and it was a great game. I lost about twice as many figures as the Brits did, but they weren't anywhere near getting off the table. One of the civilian units got decimated down to 2 figures only, but I was nowhere near setting fire to the buildings. In the end, I gave the game to Neil because I'd lost twice as many figures as he had, and I'd also lost my commanding officer, who got attacked by these dastardly civilians and clubbed to death. So at that point I gave him the game, but neither of us were near getting the objectives done. We needed about another hour play to do that, and we just didn't have the time. So we're just replaying it to see whether a similar thing happens. This time I'm going to be the British, and Graham, my buddy, is going to be the Americans. The only other thing, you can see where the Americans are coming on. They've got 2 continental units coming on over here. They've got another continental unit and some militia over there. And they've got 2 other units here off table at the moment. They're either going to come on the rocky ground there, the wood here, the wood there, or the wood over there. And I don't know where they're coming yet, because they're allowed to use hidden movement. In the village, we've got the British. In fact, I'll show you the army list. There we go. I'll put that on so you can watch it in a minute. There you go. Right, so in here we have British regulars here and here. They're in close order. We've got British light infantry here behind the wall. We've got some rangers here, and this is a loyalist provincial unit, and then we've got 2 units of civilians with a civilian leader as well. So that's the British on an officer on the horse. The American commander decided to come on with the militia and 1 continental unit over there. So that's the game set up. We'll do the first move, and every so often I shall report back as to how things are going. Right, first thing that's happened is some riflemen have come onto this rocky ground here, which I expected, and they're now aiming. So I'm afraid my loyalists over here are going to get shot at in a minute. The other 3 units are still hidden movement. I don't know where the last unit is. They're in one of those 3 woods. We'll find out soon. Right, a few updates. The British came out of the hamlet here and opened fire on the skirmishers in the rocky ground, and they lost a figure and had to fall back, shaken. Before that, though, they did define this unit, and they killed 2 of the provincials, but their morale was fine. Over here, These guys opened fire, but on this unit here, and as you can see, caused 2 casualties. But their morale was fine because they're British, and it takes a lot to upset British regulars. And then they moved out, and because trying to shoot at those in the wood is going to be really hard work because they're in extended order, they're in dense cover. So we've decided to try and advance and go into melee. So we're on our way there. Over here, the Rangers opened fire on the militia, and they got 1 casualty, and the militia, unfortunately for them,
rolled
a 0 on the dice, so they're fleeing. But the real bad news is this Continental unit here, which earlier I said they had to flee as well, but they couldn't flee because the table edge, and you have to roll to see whether in fact they go off the table or not. And he rolled really badly, and 6 of the 8 have gone off the table. So there's the casualties. So the Continentals have lost 7 men, although the British have lost 4. But at the moment, certainly the British have got the upper hand, but it's early days yet. But yeah, and now the red card came up, so the exit for the table is over here, which I'm not going to try and get to, and the other one is over there. And since the militia and the other Continentals in that area are not looking too happy, it's looking pretty rosy. But I haven't yet been able to move the civilians because their card hasn't come up, and I haven't got any command points to do it anyway. So a lot to happen yet, but very much the British have got the upper hand at the moment due to some very, very, very poor morale dice throwing. You can't roll a 0 with militia, they don't like it. And the Continentals as well, because they're not regulars, they are just provincial. So the morale is beating the Americans at the moment, not so much the losses, it's the morale. They are really struggling to get a decent morale dice throw. Right, so we'll move on. Quick update. Over here you can see the British light infantry charged the Continentals, the rifles, in the wood, and they won the melee. They killed 2 and lost 1. When the riflemen did a morale test, they had to fall back. So it's not a disaster, but they have fallen back now in the wood. Although it's costing the British 2 units to do that. I maybe should pull these the other way now. Over here, the militia have recovered, but they're not doing much. The civilians have now moved. They're heading towards that corner to try and get off the table. Over here, the Continentals have moved up in the centre. They're still unloaded though. So it's all very slow at the moment. The British have still got the upper hand, but this can change, of course. Another very quick update. The brave riflemen in the wood, only 4 of them, decided to charge the 6 light infantry. They thought they were unloaded anyway. They thought they had a chance of pushing them back. Unfortunately, they lost 2 in the melee. The light infantry didn't lose any, and they rolled badly on the morale dice, so they've routed. So it's not looking good for the Americans at the moment. It's all going horribly wrong. And what it needs is for the American commander to start rolling decent morale dice, and he might be able to pull something out of this. It's not happening, is it, Graham?
No, it's not.
Never seen you roll so badly.
No.
There we go. It's normally me that does that, isn't it?
Yes. Git.
Another update. It's all going so horribly wrong for the American side. The militia over here got open fire by those Rangers. And they only lost 1 figure, but then they did again an abysmal roll on the dice, and they had to flee. Because they were about to go off the table almost, they had to roll to see those that would have gone off the table, whether they run away and rout. And out of the 7 that diced, I'm afraid 6 did. And to make things even worse, the Rangers in the rocky ground here got fired on by the recovered British line infantry in close order with volley fire. Although they didn't cause a casualty, they rolled a 0 on the dice and they've routed. The officer also got shaken and had to fall back. So this game's really rapidly coming to a conclusion. There's 2 strong Continental units in the middle, but that's really
completely
all
unloaded.
they've got. Yeah, completely unloaded. So it really is going horribly wrong for the American side. I've never seen Graham roll so many 0s in all the years I've been playing with him, and he saved them all for today. It's very kind of you, Graham. See, no comment, and I don't blame him either. I wouldn't want to say anything either. It's just been one of those games. They are the losses of the Americans so far. I'm not going to add them up. There's quite a few. And the British losses are over here. We've only lost 6. So it looks like, unless Graham can pull something really amazing out the bag, this game looks all but over. Well, we've called it, in fact, because there is no way the Americans can recover from this. The 2 units here have got such a long way to stop the civilians, which are over here, getting off that top corner, and they've only got 5 militia over there. They're not going to do anything. So really, it's just been an absolute nightmare for the American side. They've been, I think in about 8 morale tests, I think Graham must have rolled 5 or 6 zeros. And if you do that, especially with militia, they're not going to do much, are they really? The British have been very powerful. We managed to get rid of these guys in the wood over here. Say the civilians have got no trouble now getting off the table. Eventually, it's going to take them quite a few moves to get there. But the nearest troops to stop them are over there. So, yeah, it's not worth carrying on, really. Graham's conceded the game, and yeah, I would like to say GG, Graham, but it's not really a GG. It was a bit of a one-sided game. It's a shame because it you know, when we played this last week against Neil, it was different. Although we were both rolling quite good for morale tests, and that is a big difference. If you roll zeros, that the amount that Graham rolled them today, is going to cause you big problems. Unfortunately, even the American Continentals are only provincials, they're not regulars. So although I did roll a few bad dice for my regulars, they were able to take that just because they are trained troops. But if you do that with provincials, they're going to be in trouble. And the 2 rifle units were the surprise. They didn't do anywhere as much damage as they could have done. I think they did cause most of the British casualties. I think they got 4 out of the 6. But say those guys in the rocky ground should have been safe there, and they weren't losing many men. They only lost 1 figure, but again, morale dice forced them to withdraw. So that's it, game over. Thanks for watching.